welcome back to Anonymators
Reviewing
Anonymators. I'm Anonymator Wesley Boone.
I'm an Animator, Emily Strasser.
Strasser. See, I'm not the only one who forgot your name.
It's not that I forgot my name, it's just that I can't...
This is a different video, you're gonna have to explain what that was about.
Please watch my other podcast video where I review with these peoples Big Hero 6.
Yeah. The other part of these peoples is Regan Greenwood.
Regan Greenwood.
Who I happen to be.
Yes, that's her. To my left. You can hear it in the podcast. Alright, today we're going to talk about Over the Garden Wall, a very peculiar animation that came from Cartoon Network.
Mm-hmm. It's a little mini-series.
Yeah, 10 episodes.
I think so.
10 or 12 episodes, I think.
Yeah, 10 episodes.
Okay.
Oh, there's a pilot as well, apparently.
Still haven't found that. I'm looking for it.
I'm sure it's somewhere in the world.
Yeah, I would say that's safe to assume.
Yeah, somewhere hidden in the Cartoon Network archives, never to be seen by human eyes. Okay, look, we're gonna talk about the show a bit, what we liked about it, I guess, and then we'll hop straight into breaking down each episode, and then maybe sort of, I guess, figuring out what exactly it was about. Yeah. All right. So I'll start. I first got into the show. Emily introduced it to me. We decided to sit down and just binge it. And I would like to actually watch a second watch through of it to sort of maybe understand a bit more of it. But I do remember I didn't like the first 2 episodes.
Really?
Yeah. I found Greg, right? The little brother is Greg?
Yeah.
I found him annoying.
Yeah.
I felt like he was random for the sake of random. Like kind of... think Invader Zim, think Gur. Yeah. You know, whereas Gur was original... I felt that after that, like a lot of people sort of pulled reference of Gur to make their annoying random characters. And Greg just did not fathom the situation that he was in, whereas Wirt did. And I guess that's where one of the topics can come in of,
he's
innocence.
Also a little boy.
Yeah, he's a little boy. He doesn't really... But the thing is...
I think Greg was sort of created for the sake of the younger audience, whereas Wirt was more so the more mature audience. Like, Greg was... I think Greg... The sole reason Greg was there and he acted the way that he did was for the younger part of the audience. Mm.
Do you really think the show, though, would have been aimed at a younger audience?
I really don't think so, personally.
Well, I mean, like, what about Adventure Time? Like, how well does Adventure Time do with...
But that definitely wasn't aimed at young kids, initially.
You don't think so?
Mm.
No.
That was definitely an internet audience of, like, maybe teenagehood plus.
Yeah, or, like, preteens.
Yeah, it might have...
I'm gonna say preteens is probably what the initial, like, the...
Maybe it's just because my younger cousins like Adventure Time and regular
Oh, of course,
show.
a lot of kids like it, and I can see a lot of kids enjoying the show. I just don't think it was written for them in mind, even with Greg.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it's definitely not... This is a story aimed at people who enjoy stories, who enjoy, I think, seeing a deeper message behind things, if there is and isn't, because a lot of people can sometimes look into things that aren't there.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then you would just have to say a cigar is a cigar. But... You know, I think this was definitely written because it doesn't come off as that. Each episode is definitely standalone, but there's definitely a whole story arc. And I didn't feel that way. I felt like in the first episodes, there was definitely this... I don't want to use... I can't think of another word to replace it, but there was this pretentiousness to it where it felt like, oh, look at us. We're... so weird, you know, and then look at how weird Greg is, and I was like, and that turned me off because it wasn't clever initially to me. I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I have to sit through this annoying character, because otherwise the animation was great, and especially when they started singing more frequently, I really, really liked that. But as I started watching more and more, like the show started appealing to me. I liked the world that the characters were in. I liked the characters. I liked that Wirt wasn't just completely played out as this wet towel, you know? Like, I mean, he's trying to grow up, he's trying to be serious, he's trying to figure himself out, but, you know, like, he still jokes around, like in that one episode where they're like, oh, you just do whatever you're told. He's like, okay, I'll just do whatever I'm told, and then sort of doesn't get them into trouble, takes them on a different adventure. But he's obviously just being sarcastic and he's waiting for an apology, because the reason why you sometimes do what you're told, I fall into that trap where I'm like, I'm just going to do this because this is what's expected of me. I'm not going to fight the system. I'm not in the mood to fight the system. this is not the place to fight the system.
Mm.
I'm told, do your job, and you'll get paid. Why should I fight? I'm going to do my job, I'm going to get paid. If somebody comes up to me and tells me, do your job and do this other thing that I just want you to do for no reason, then maybe I'll start fighting. You know, you got to pick your battles. And I think that's where Wirt is. Wirt is like, oh, I just need to get home. I need to get out of here. That's what I'm focusing on. Let me just get this done. And everybody else is messing around him. And it's like getting annoying because he's just trying to do his thing. But he can still have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
You know, so that was nice about him. Greg, even though his attitude didn't really change throughout the adventure.
He grew on you a bit more, though.
Yeah, he did. I did start to like him in the sense of, okay, I can see, because, again, he's a kid.
Especially toward the end, where he essentially sacrifices himself for Wirt.
Yeah.
You know, like, he wants...
But again, I don't think it was done in the sense of he knew he was sacrificing himself.
I don't know, I think he was pretty well aware. Like, because, well, I guess we're...
Well, he wanted to be the leader at the time, remember? It was like a...
Yeah, but what allowed him to sacrifice himself was that little dream world that he went to. And
he didn't want to leave his brother behind. Remember, like, it was like, oh, well, you got to go, and you can't take your brother with you. It's like, oh, well, I can't leave my brother behind. I'm the leader.
Yeah, so
it was still that naive sense of...
Yes, it was very naive, but he still knew that his brother could go, but he couldn't. So he chose for his brother to go wherever it was, or for his brother to go back to the real world or go home, whatever it was, and then he would stay there. He was taking his brother's place. So regardless of what was happening, he was still sacrificing himself for his brother.
Okay. No, look, I mean, I'm not saying I just don't think he was aware of the implications of the sacrifice.
Okay.
But
all right, yeah, I can agree with that one.
But yeah, okay. Well, so other than sort of each of the characters' developments, I mean, the show itself is filled with a bunch of really interesting characters. I relate it to sort of, I've done this before, but it's got that really British sort of storytelling thing to it, where there's like this.
Pause it.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I was saying, actually I don't remember what I was saying, but to move on.
We got paused because my roommate came. We live with 2 other women. Isn't that right, Emily?
Yeah.
So, context. Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, I do feel that everybody can take a different sort of feeling from the story. There's definitely jumps, you know, like, because I think there's a lot of things being told in the story, so I think everybody does pull a little bit something different, the way they would see different things. Oh yeah, but what I was saying was, there's that British storytelling to it, you know, like where the frog talks, or the animals, like, so there's these humans in this world, and they come from a human world, and then they go over this garden to this magical place, where there's these live frogs and these live characters, and they talk and they sing, and it's all very surreal. I mean, one of my favorite episodes.
It's very Brothers Grimm and Aesop's Fables. More so
very folk story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know, these 2 kids went to this area, and there was a frog, and the frog spoke to them, and it reminds me of stuff like The Secret Garden or whatever, or
like the book.
Yeah, you know, it's just sort of the way the storytelling is presented.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know. Those are my general feelings of the show. I don't know if you guys want to...
It's just that, you know, my mother will often... I remember my mother talking about Adventure Time, like her feelings of Adventure Time. I think it was my mom. Either that or it was my cousin, but I have too many family members.
You really do. You've got a huge family.
I do. Okay, so... Essentially, both my parents have 9 brothers and sisters, and plus the people they're married to, plus their kids. You figure it out.
Big family.
A huge family. So, anyway, so, like, it was basically my mother talking about how, like, she doesn't understand how Adventure Time is so big, because it deals with a lot, like, to her, it's not very kid-friendly. And I think that was sort of what struck me, that was really interesting, that Cartoon Network even went this route, that they, because it felt like, and it could just be because they recently changed they recently changed presidents. So they went away from, okay, well, kids don't watch cartoons anymore. Let's have them have a live-action show with cartoons in it?
I think the mentality is definitely different in production, because it's no longer... There's a lot of shows that I think have changed our minds with stuff like Adventure Time, SpongeBob. You know, that kids are a lot more intelligent than we've given them credit for. And if you make a show good enough, adults will enjoy it. And fans will actually want to buy DVDs and toys and stuff. Yeah, merchandise around it. So you make a good show.
Especially if you're an animator.
Oh,
see all the desks, there's toys everywhere.
I would happily have a working Greg, like little figurines. They would be awesome.
The shadow.
The little frog that they have.
I totally want the shadow creature.
Yeah, you know,
the
I mean,
Beast. Yes.
The first dog that they confused for the Beast.
Yeah.
As well, that would be awesome, like in its big form, not like when it turns back into a dog.
Yeah. That'd be a little anticlimactic. You've got like the turtle and the dog.
But yeah, it's yeah. Sorry to cut you short,
no,
but
no,
I do think.
I think you're right in the sense that mentality has changed, because I felt like for a while, it always felt like a lot of children's programming, at least in like around the 2007 era, things were very vapid. Like I always felt everything that was for kids was incredibly
fluffy.
It was shallow.
Yeah.
It was shallow, and then Adventure Time came along and regular show came along, and those started to become really big, and I'm seeing...
Adventure Time hit it really well, though. Adventure Time was, oh, look at this goofy adventure we're doing, but hid it, like, behind... Or that was... What was hidden behind that was, like, the darker story.
Yeah.
You know, the post-apocalyptic world, the Frost Kings...
Ice King.
The Ice Kings, you know, like, brain issues or whatever, you know, his memory issues. Yeah, you know, like the possible lesbian relationship between Bubblegum Princess and...
Apparently they were supposed to be canon, but Cartoon Network, the censors
I would
were
imagine
like,
so.
no.
But there's definitely...
Bubblegum Princess and who?
Bubblegum, Princess Bubblegum and Marceline, the vampire girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like apparently, like there's a song about the two of them like needing each other.
They definitely
and so
have a history, even in the canon.
It's been played off as a friendship, but you know, when asked, the producers are like, we're not going to say anything. You know, not the producers, but whoever.
We're not allowed to say anything.
Yeah.
It's like, look, we're going to leave it up to your, you know,
it's up to your imagination, your interpretation.
Yeah.
But it's definitely kind of there. So, with sort of like the more adult themes to it, like I think kids would definitely buy Adventure Time merch, but the people with actual money are the adults, and currently the geeks rule the earth. So it's true, because you go back like 20 years, like you couldn't find half the stuff you're finding now, like merchandised. You know, now it's like everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, you go back 30-40 years and it was not even, it was only kids' toys. You know, Star Wars toys were for kids. Like it was those really crappy little action figures or toy cars, and the fans would buy it because they got no other choice. Another example I can give is like the My Little Pony fandom.
Yeah.
You see the really cruddy toys that start off with, and then now there's like proper vinyl sculptures and things, you know.
Really funny for such simplified characters,
right?
To have such a...
Which is actually kind of ingenious, because the more simplified the character is, the much more easier they are to mass produce.
Yeah.
Really? Like, I mean, even after you have... Sorry, I guess we're veering off for a moment. Even if you have the model already made, like you have the cast, it's still more... It's cost effective to have the simplified.
Well, that's why a lot of the rigs in season 1 look the same. They're essentially the same pony, just colored differently.
Yeah.
Because it's better for cost purposes to just have the same rig.
Okay, I was thinking more in terms of like the merchandise.
But that's for the mass produced toys for the girls, right? The attitude of just one cast and then we just mass produce it.
Yeah.
Versus now there are fans who are definitely against it, plus 3D printing. And all these things. It's definitely gotten cheaper and more effective to now design things uniquely for a person. We could go in 3D program, design these characters, and take it to the 3D printer and print them out and have the statues ourselves. We don't really need to wait for the toys to come out. And in fact, those toys could probably be better quality. The problem is just copyright. So you can make it for yourself, but you can't make it for other people.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what's your general feelings on the show, Regan?
Oh, I loved it, actually. I was super surprised when I was watching it, because I'm not as much into Adventure Time. That's probably more because I'm not super into the design of the show. But, yeah, I love the aesthetic look. Like, it really does remind me of, like, old folk tales and, like, wood-carved art. Like, you think, like, the Alice in Wonderland kind of style in the old books. That's a lot what it reminds me of. Or even Wizard of Oz. Like, the older kind of look for illustrating stories.
It definitely, like... Oh, sorry. I'll let you finish.
But, yeah, I loved the first 2 episodes. It grabbed me right away because it's like, wow, this is really different, especially for a channel like Cartoon Network to be diving into something that's got a darker, deeper sort of story to it. My sister is 14 and I love her to bits, but she's kind of at the age where she doesn't really want to watch cartoons, and she's really branching out and finding out like what she likes, what she doesn't like, and a lot of the things that we used to enjoy together as a kid, as kids, she doesn't enjoy as much anymore now that she's 14. But Over the Garden Wall was one of the few things I could show her that she was actually interested in, because her default for cartoons is, oh, it's like SpongeBob, there's no real story, it's all really fluffy, it's just mainstream cliche, and there's nothing really new.
Do you think that's why a lot of kids at that particular age, because that's what I've seen with anime in particular, is a lot of people gravitate towards, and they still want to watch cartoons, but the cartoons are so airheaded.
Dumbed down.
Yeah. That then it's like, oh, but look at anime. I mean, sure, there's half the anime is just girls flopping around all over the place, but the other half is like, this is a serious story. This is quite like an adventure, it's... For sure. Like, I mean, I actually think about back to when I was a teenager, and I would watch, like, 13, 14, I would watch stuff like Wolf's Rain and Full Metal Alchemist were a couple of ones. I didn't actually like Wolf's Rain, I just finished it, but Full Metal Alchemist had more of a story to it. Do you mean Wolf's Rain?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, I thought you said Wolf's Strain. I'm like, wait, what the...
Wolf's Rain.
Sorry, I just know. I could have just misheard.
But, so yeah, Karis, my sister, she's watching Attack on Titan and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, she actually was really into the Garden Wall, and after each episode I was saying, hey Karis, we can stop anytime if you want, I'm not going to force you to keep watching this. And no, let's keep going. And we watched the whole series in the night. She was that into it. So yeah, I was very impressed with the show. I love it.
Yeah. It's definitely got older tones to it.
Just, sorry, one more thing I want to add. The fact that they took a risk and they made a mini-series as opposed to a TV series where it's supposed to continue going. That's fascinating too.
Yeah, because usually the attitude is, okay, what are you going to do for episode 100? You know, like, that's the plan you have. Whereas here it's like, okay, we've only got 10 episodes. Yeah. And so that's, so maybe it just brings back to the fact, the change of ownership of Cartoon Network, or the change of presidency or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe they're seeing, not necessarily, because look, they have to make a profit.
They do, yeah.
But I'm looking at some of the stats here, and the US viewers on original air date is 1.1 million people, and then there's 1.2 million people for later episodes. So, and that's, I'm guessing, not from online views.
How could they monitor that exactly?
Online views, I think you can monitor a lot easier than offline stuff, but I think for the most part, like, TV ratings are done with however they do it. I don't really.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly TV stuff. I could be wrong. I'm just seeing this for the first time anyway, so I don't really know what's... But that's a lot of people still.
Yeah.
And that definitely pays for the advertising alone. And if it was put on YouTube or whatever, I mean, they definitely get a lot more YouTube advertising
especially
views.
If they put it on, like, Netflix or Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they've got the whole series on their website right now, Cartoon Network, apparently.
Oh, wow, okay, so...
I don't know if we can access it here, but...
Well, anybody who is listening to this at some point, you should definitely watch it. I would recommend.
Watch it on the Cartoon Network website if you can.
Though, why you're listening to a review of a show you haven't watched yet, I don't know. Okay, well, I don't know if we're gonna... let's start breaking down episodes just quickly.
Okay.
We'll start with the first episode, The Old Grist Mill. This is where I guess you're first introduced to Wirt and Greg. They're thrown into this world as much as you are, I guess, so
Yeah.
you don't really know as much. So for all you know, this is how the world works, and this is where it's started for me, as in I didn't really understand what was going on, because, and I guess you're not supposed to, because you don't know anything before this.
Yeah.
But these two boys walk in, and then they have to run away from this unknown beast, and they find, I think, like the woodcutter, what's his name, the guy with the light.
The woodsman.
Woodsman.
Yeah, the woodsman. And, like, just being introduced there. So this is where I didn't like it. Where,
Okay.
so the first episode, it didn't draw me in particular, where I can see why it would draw a lot of people, because it's got that dark element to it, where it's like, ooh, look at this weird world, look at these weird characters, look at this weird, this weird situation that they're in. And to me, it was like, I don't know what's going on, and I don't there wasn't anything to care for at this moment. I didn't care for the characters because I didn't know them. I didn't know why they were in the situation. Were they wandering? Sure, And then the whole situation with the younger brother when they started being chased by the beast.
The beast, quote unquote.
Yeah,
not the actual.
Yeah, at this point, this is what they think is the beast. They're running away from this giant beast dog. And he didn't really seem to have a survival instinct of this giant beast chasing after him. He was constantly still causing tomfoolery.
The brother?
Yeah, the younger brother.
Yeah, Greg.
Greg, because it's like, it doesn't matter who you are in that situation, whether you're a 4-year-old or a 40-year-old, you go and the survival instinct kicks in.
Yeah.
So, the I'm gonna be an idiot, that pulled me out immediately. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what your guys' opinions on that are.
I guess maybe it was somewhat, I don't know, to me the first episode seemed to try to capture the Adventure Time audience, because from what I understand, the Adventure Time audience is beginning to lose interest in it. I haven't seen the last few seasons, so I'm not really sure what's happening.
It could be.
See, there we go. We're losing the Adventure Time audience.
Yeah,
That's because I lost my satellite TV and I'm not able to catch up on the.
But you could watch it online easily enough.
I could, but not the recent episodes.
I'm fairly certain things get onto the internet
I
like
know,
that.
I know what you mean, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about legally.
Well,
Okay.
look, I think also the problem with Adventure Time is it's definitely going on for too long. And it's maybe getting to that point where it's like, oh, look at all these interesting story points we're going to make, and then we're going to keep telling the story, and we're just going to keep telling the story, and it's like, okay, can we get some sort of conclusion? Maybe?
Yeah.
It's like, it definitely needs a conclusion.
I think it's getting to one. It seems to be getting to a conclusion because, but I mean, from the first few seasons of Adventure Time, it didn't really. It sort of alluded to the fact that it was post-apocalyptic, but it didn't really dive into it too much. It wasn't until maybe season latter season 2, I could be wrong, season 3, that it's really now we're gonna look into the fact that it's a post-apocalypse. So I'm guessing the first episode was more so was trying to capture the early Adventure Time fans, the fans that really liked that. It's just these couple of guys and they go on adventures. That was my impression of it. I could be wrong, but that was simply my impression of it.
Okay.
So it's just a couple of guys. They're
Going
on this
on an
wacky adventure.
Yeah.
And
So that's how it was, how you felt it was introduced.
I wouldn't say it's wacky. Nothing about it made me think it was super wacky.
well, I mean, I guess the only
It was different.
the
It wasn't the
characters-
norm.
The characters were wacky, I guess, but the world was not.
Yeah.
The two main characters, they were quirky. You had Wirt, he's got a lot of kind of social anxiety there.
Yeah.
But you look at Beatrice and then the woodsman, it's these two wacky characters, but everything around them is super serious.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea what they're in for.
Yeah. It does kind of remind me of even some of the older ones that the older cartoons that Wesley and I grew up with.
Such as
Well, I in particular did not grow up with this cartoon, but I know some people who grew up with Watership Down, the original cartoon.
Are you talking about the film?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, my grandmother had that, and she we had to watch it every time we went to her house. I had nightmares about that friggin' General Woundwort coming into the apartment. We're 5 stories up. Why would this rabbit come and attack a 5-year-old in a 5-story high building.
You have my sympathies.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, and then like the suffocation scene. Oh my gosh, like that's not for kids. That is not a film for little kids.
But I knew a lot of kids because it's a cartoon that's for kids. But I mean, even remembering even some of the early 90s stuff. I mean, I remember when
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Oh, Courage the Cowardly Dog's a good example. Like, that was for kids. Like, I think it was very much for kids, but it was very dark and
it dealt with adult subjects.
Yeah, but it was still, like, the characters were really over the top, goofy, especially Courage. Every time he got scared, it was a gag.
Like, just explodes into this crazy cake.
Like, every time he got scared, it was a gag.
Yeah.
So, to me, that was at least the first episode, but Greg was the only one that seemed to bring that,
wackiness.
Yeah, the wackiness. I don't know.
And, well, I like the juxtaposition between the seriousness and the silly, but my problem is that there needs to be that I need it to be mired in the world that it's set in. So, like, Greg's sort of attitude in the world that he's in is like, and even when later on, when we have a flashback to when they're in the real world, he still acts like that, and you'd act even less like that in the real world. It's like, unless he has some sort of weird, severe ADD, like, it didn't. He was this square piece in like a circular puzzle thing that just didn't fit, and it was annoying because you needed to fit and it didn't, and that was bugging. That's what was bugging me. And again, maybe that was the point. Maybe I'm being too critical of the situation, but it was just, he stood out for me in a bad way. It wasn't like, he stood out for me because he was cute and charming. He stood out because it didn't make sense why he was like that.
Yeah.
He was in this world that you couldn't be like that. If he was in like in a regular show world, sure, like those characters are all really obscure and weird, but I'm okay with that because their world is like obscure and weird. They send things to the moon by playing on a keyboard, or it's like whatever.
They do get to this point where they just in every episode of Adventure Time, it's like normal, something insane happens, and then they came to a point where they just sort of accepted, okay, this is where the weird thing happens.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, the weird thing is, it's like, okay, we live in this quote-unquote normal world, and then this weird thing starts happening, and then we accept that it's this weird thing that's happening as if it's just part of normal life. And that's how the characters react to it. Because this is a weird thing that's happening, but it's not weird to them. So they go and they do their thing, they get stuck in the internet or whatever, and then they come back, and then it's like, okay, let's continue fixing chairs in the park.
The only explanation that I can come up for Greg is the fact that it's not his story, per se. I think maybe
it's the way his brother sees him?
It could be.
It's an interesting concept.
Yeah. But that's the only explanation I can think of off the top of my head.
The problem is, then again, later on, when you do follow Greg, it does pay attention just to him for a little while.
Okay.
So it couldn't be separate stories, unless, I guess, his brother's dreaming of Greg, because then how would he know that Greg sacrificed himself when he went to... But
that doesn't work, but, I mean, we're doing a synopsis of the series right now, so we can get back to that later.
Okay, so... Well, that was episode 1, really. They do fight this big giant dog thing that they assume is the beast. Turns out not to be a beast, it's just a normal dog that swallowed a black turtle.
Yeah.
Which is another thing
to
talk about later on.
Yeah, which will come in later. And then they go on to the next episode. Like, a lot of the episodes also ended. Like, this episode just ended, like, done. We're not telling you anymore. Going to the next episode. And I have mixed feelings about that, because it's like, okay, could you just maybe finish the story you're telling and then we can go on to the next one? But... as it happened with every episode, it was like, oh, okay, I see why it's continuing onto this adventure. So in the end, I didn't really care. Second episode, I think, called Hard Times at the Huskin Bee. Don't remember it too well at this point.
That's when they went to that inn.
Is that the inn?
No, that's the one with the living pumpkins.
That was it. This was still an episode where I was still getting annoyed by Greg, but this is definitely where I started warming up to the show. Like, I liked the skeleton pumpkin things. That was pretty interesting. So they do find sort of a town which they assume is a human town. They go in. Turns out that there's like, everybody else is like, no, don't go into this town, but what's his name? Wirt wants to go there, look for help, try and get out of there. Turns out this town is
Like, they think everyone is in a costume.
Yeah, like a
they
pumpkin costume, and they're dancing around at their little pumpkin festival. They get punished because they broke one of their pumpkins, and, you know, they have to dig holes and stuff. And so they start thinking that the holes that they're digging is their graves.
Yeah.
And...
They also mentioned that they met Beatrice.
Yeah. Beatrice, the bluebird.
That can talk.
Yeah.
Which Wirt says, bluebirds can't talk. They don't have the brains big enough for it. Which... It's not the brain size, it's the fact that they don't have the vocal cords.
Yeah.
But...
Potato.
Yeah. but yeah, the idea is that the girl, the bluebird can talk, and then he's not taken out of this world yet. Like, does he... You see, like, this is a part where he's like, oh, bluebirds can't talk. Oh, well, I guess I'm still in this world, I'm just going to keep going. Wirt conforms to the world that he's in. You know, he sees the bluebird. He's like,
I think you're talking about Greg, or Wirt.
No, Wirt's the older brother, right? He conforms to this world. He's like, okay, I'm just going to accept what's happening, and he keeps going, because it's like, oh well, bluebirds can't talk. That's weird. And then he keeps going. Greg, it's like, just from the get go, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't phase to him.
Yeah, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so like, what's the name of this town? Pottsfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pottsfield. I think they have a song here, don't they?
Yeah.
The pumpkins do a little dance song.
They're doing a dance, but do they actually sing? I don't think they were, or at least like it wasn't like a musical number like they have later on.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was still a nice little sequence. They find out now that then like the graves that the two brothers are digging. Oh yes, Beatrice the whole time is like, no, don't go in there, don't go in there. It's not good. And at this point, you think Beatrice is just a bluebird. Spoilers. Well, you know, there was definitely something different about her, I guess. I mean, because they did introduce her. Why would they introduce only this one bird, you know, and then not have to do anything to do with her, right?
Yeah.
So the holes that the boys dig up turn out that there's skeletons in there. They climb out, they put the pumpkin outfits on, and off they go and dig. And then the pumpkin king, I guess, was like...
Enoch, I think.
Well,
Enoch.
Yeah, he's all, you guys want to join us? And they're like, oh, no, not now. And they're like, well, I guess you will someday. So I guess it's the idea that's where people will go when they're dead or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, at least they're... And this is where one of the first points to me were that these characters were either in some sort of purgatory. Like, they were traveling through purgatory, traveling to get to... They wanted to get home, and so they were fighting... the whole time against these places that they could end up that were like, you know, quote unquote types of heaven, you know, like different final destinations.
Okay.
That was my take on it, because to me the entire series, I think, focuses on death. It's actually the death of these boys.
Okay.
Going on their that's just what I took at the end.
That's your interpretation. Yeah.
Like, that's how I sort of took it, because there's a thing that gets sung right at the end that makes me think, oh, that's what confirmed my belief. However, everybody's got a different...
It could be more like of Dante's Inferno, because it did seem as the series progressed, it did get deeper and deeper into this world. So much like Dante would go through the several circles of hell.
Yeah.
So there's 7 circles, wasn't it?
9, I think.
Yeah. Oh, 9.
Anything else about the episode?
It's been a while since I've...
That's also where you're kind of introduced to the fact that they're looking for this woman of the woods.
Oh, Adelaide.
Adelaide, yeah.
Yeah. So they look for her for several episodes.
Yeah, because Beatrice says, oh, you must go to Adelaide, the woman of the woods.
Because they rescued her, so now Beatrice is bound to follow them until she saves them or does them a favor or something like that.
Yeah. So she attempts to help them get home. And she says, in order for you to get home, you know, a way to get home is through this woman Adelaide. So let's go find Adelaide.
And that's what I like too, because here they show Beatrice is like trying to get them to do this, right? And they like, sometimes they don't want to listen to Beatrice, or they want to go their own way and figure out something on their own. And like, it would frustrate her to the point, like, she seems like she wouldn't really want to help them, right? But she's like, no, I'll just keep helping you. I'll just keep helping you because I owe you.
Yeah.
And it's like, as you find out later, there's more to it than that.
But next episode?
So next episode is Schooltown Follies.
This was a really interesting episode for me.
It felt like a break. Like, you had the
Yeah.
2 more intense episodes, and it's like, okay, we're going to give you a break. Like, what that makes me think about this show is that they're anticipating that people are going to binge watch it. Like, it's only 90 minutes of content.
Yeah.
So, like, the same thing as an animated feature, essentially. So, my thought is that, like, how after an intense action sequence, you have a break. They give you a chance to cool down and calm down with the characters, so you're not overstimulated the whole time. That's what this episode felt like to me.
It was definitely a lot goofier, and this is where I think the songs definitely started coming out, because there's 2 songs in here that are really, really good.
And molasses,
which is disgusting.
Well, yeah, so it's
Greg,
that was-
you're a liar.
it was also nice about this was the songs, they weren't like, especially sung by Greg, is how Greg sings, and it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times in these shows or movies or whatever, like, when the person's singing, it's all melodic, and Greg
And they
always
usually
sings off
find-
tune and off beat.
Well, they
Yeah.
usually find another actor to sing for that character. Like, that's how a lot of Disney movies do. They have, like, the
voice actor.
Yeah, the
and
voice actor
singing.
and then the singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible singing by any means. It was just it was rough. It was real. You know, it was nice
Yeah.
to hear
Yeah.
that. I liked it. The episode itself was also very silly. Oh, the second song in it was the teacher who
Which
sings
is
ABCs.
so clever. You can
Yeah.
actually find the full version
The
online.
full version
Yeah.
is amazing. Well,
Yeah.
there is the and maybe I'll put it up in the link, but there is a link to a collection of all the songs that came
Oh,
out for the
awesome.
episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can download them each separately, and
Woo!
but I like that song because, yeah, it's very clever. It's like A is for this, and it's not just A, B,
Well, because
C.
it takes place in the schoolhouse too,
Yeah.
and it's basically
But
she's teaching the kids the classroom full of animals. They're not kids; they're just animals in
Animal children.
Yeah, they're animals in people costumes,
Yeah.
and she's trying to teach them. And
the
she
alphabet.
Yeah, but she teaches the alphabet through the song of her boyfriend or fiance leaving her.
Dealing with her grief.
Yeah,
in
so it's
this
like-
way.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta find the lyrics for it if I can.
I'll find. Oh, you got it.
But yeah,
Okay.
it's it was
It was very clever and charming. I enjoyed it.
yeah. I mean, overall the songs in general I really
There we
liked. You know, so it starts off with like A is for the apple that he gave to me, but I found a worm inside. B is for beloved that I called to him before he left my side. And it's like, oh, and it's like, and C, see what he did. That's D. Did to poor old me. He's done really well. You know, if I knew a bit more about music theory, I'm sure I could, you know, explain it better. But in the sense of just enjoying it for the sake of enjoying it, it was a nice, you know, it wasn't like a boring song. It was, oh, this is a nice little beat, but it's so melancholy.
Oh, and we didn't get to listen to much of it, which is disappointing in the actual episode. Like the full song, you hear just how clever it really is in its entirety, but you don't get to hear as much of it.
I'll definitely probably use, because that's like one of my favorite songs. I'll probably use it for like the end credit song
Okay.
for this.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really awesome because they use the entire alphabet. Like, one of my favorite lines was in the middle where it goes, J is for the Joker, that is Jimmy B, the man who made me cry, that's a C. And K, well, you know that's not okay, to kiss and then run away. Other than the lyrics being really clever, it's also the usage of the alphabet into the lyric. You know, it's like,
clever.
here's the restriction
So
we've
sweet,
added to
yeah.
ourselves and we've made it interesting. It's like they've put themselves in a box and they're thinking inside this box, and it's unique. It's not like, oh, let's just throw everything out the box and make. And this is definitely where I started enjoying the show, when I started really realizing how clever it was.
Yeah.
You know, like it wasn't just, oh, random ha ha ha. It was, oh, wow, it's actually cleverer than I was giving it initial credit for. Yeah.
And
So-
then it's revealed that her fiance was in a gorilla costume.
Costume.
Yeah, there's this gorilla that's chasing everybody throughout the episode, and they think it's like a loose gorilla and it's causing problems, and it turns out to be her fiance who got stuck in a costume.
Because he was trying to afford to buy a ring for her, so he went and joined the circus
Yeah.
for a bit. It's like, you need some communication there, buddy.
Yeah.
Another point is that the school was going to shut down.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the dad wanted to help his daughter with her dream for the teaching of school of these animals, but he kept on like being angry, aggressive about it, I guess, and then confiscated these instruments that they were using when they were singing the molasses song, the
when they were
potatoes and
being
molasses.
serious, yeah.
And then so he confiscates the instruments so he could sell because he's run out of actual money. And instead, the boys steal the instruments back, hold a benefit concert to make money, and to save the school. And, happy days, good old-fashioned ending. And then off they go on, continue their adventures to go find the wise old woman. So the next episode, Songs of the Dark Lantern. They're still looking for... I think this is where we get to the tavern, yeah.
Yeah.
So
this was an interesting episode.
they need... and this is where one of my
many
favorite
references.
characters appears, is the horse.
Oh.
Whose name I don't remember at the moment, but he is funny.
Fred.
Like Fred, yes. Fred the horse. he also talks, I believe, but not necessarily in this
You and
episode.
horses.
I think
You like horses, but you don't like horses.
I only like cartoon horses. Well, yeah. So this episode, I like this episode too, because also again the music, the music of the Highwayman, his song.
Yes.
I love that.
Okay, I'm pretty certain that is a reference to Minnie the Moocher.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, his whole song there, just the really bizarre kind of Fleischer-esque animation. I'm pretty sure that they were referencing Minnie the Moocher there. Because for that, for those who don't know what Minnie the Moocher is, it's like this kind of almost a music video for a song that this guy did back in like the 20s or the 30s or something, and it was by the Fleischer cartoons. They did Popeye and Betty Boop. I'm pretty sure it was from a Betty Boop episode.
Yeah, it was, because I remember Betty and
short.
Because like Betty runs away with Bimbo, and they end up in this cave with all these googly things.
Yeah, I can't for the life of me remember the guy who sings it, but what they actually did is they rotoscoped. They filmed
walrus dancing.
Well, there was a walrus and then there was a ghost.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Well,
and I don't know what the two differences were offhand. Like why they had the walrus and why they had this weird ghost creature dancing and morphing, and it's very surreal and very bizarre to watch. And
I highly recommend it for any animation fans, especially.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing you are if you're watching this.
Yeah, I can get a link on the in the about if everybody wants to read.
Yeah.
The
doobly-doo.
Doobly-doo. Yeah, so that's what I think they were referencing there. I'm not 100% certain, but I mean it.
Well, from what I've been...
It makes sense. It definitely has a lot of likenesses. And the thing is, that wouldn't be the first and last time that they make references to other styles of cartoons.
For sure.
So it's not a stretch of the imagination to say that, because for me, just general poking around the internet, that's also the consensus that this is from that Betty Boop cartoon. So
yeah.
Well, so the episode itself deals with they're looking for directions. They go in. Wirt has to sort of man up and ask for directions because the Bluebird's not welcome there because apparently there's signs of bad luck or something. Because otherwise the Bluebird girl would have asked. And so they're in there, and
it's this really weird world.
Yeah.
Where like everyone in this tavern has an assigned job.
Yeah, there's
right. You're not
the cobbler, and there's the highwayman. That's his job. He's the highwayman, even though he's a robber.
And that's how they keep asking. Wirt, like, what are you?
Yeah.
Like.
So when he's looking for a girl in the woods, I believe then they think he's looking for his lover.
Yeah.
So they start singing songs about him being lover, but then later he actually becomes the wanderer, I believe.
No, he becomes the pilgrim.
The pilgrim,
I
guess.
Right.
Yeah. And then he actually likens that, and I like that because that's in this episode. It seems to me he starts identifying. He starts self-identifying. So it's like, I finally found something that I can relate to as myself.
Yeah.
And that's great. I like the idea of a character figuring himself out a little bit. But like it could have also just been the lure of wanting to be the pilgrim, like the romantic lure of look at how weird and different I am, versus the but
given Wirt's age, that's not uncommon to try to figure oneself out.
Find a label.
Yeah.
Well, that's why cliques are so popular in high school. Like, I remember in my high school, we had the goths and the jocks and the cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And then there was my table where we're like...
we don't fit anywhere,
the
right?
freaks and geeks.
Yeah, it was just... people who were kind of misfits, right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of people you hung out with?
Yeah.
Me too.
That's us artists.
I think animators and or artists in general.
Yeah.
We don't fit anywhere exactly.
Yeah.
It's just you might enjoy sports, but you're not part of the sports clique because you don't want to play sports. You just want to enjoy sports. But no, you got to do the things we want to do.
Yeah, you have to be serious about it.
Yeah.
So that was in terms of Wirt's writing. That was a nice little like, okay, well, here I am in this world. Who am I in this world? So that was just a nice little. It was just a nice little thing.
Yeah. One of my favorite episodes, definitely, especially because Fred the horse gets introduced, which he definitely adds onto the next episode.
Yeah.
And
Oh my gosh.
I just saw something interesting in this, but anyway, we'll get to that in the next
Oh,
episode.
no kidding. Oh, wow.
Okay, I don't know what you're looking at there.
You'll find out soon.
I'm busy making a dinosaur.
Okay, so yeah, in the middle, you also then start finding the beast appears to the woodsman, and you guys start finding, because the thing is, a lot of people tell Wirt that the beast carries the lantern, but the woodsman is carrying the lantern. And it's revealed at this point that the beast has put the woodsman's daughter's life in this lantern that
her soul in
so
the lantern.
he has to chop up these pieces of wood to keep her alive.
From a very specific tree.
Yeah.
An elderwood?
Yeah, I
Elderwood?
believe
Elderwood. Something wood.
Yeah. Which you haven't found out where the elderwood comes from, but I think at this point we were starting to realize that.
And they're these really freaky looking trees. Like they're
Yeah.
distorted and they have faces and they're very twisted.
Well, that was how. Well, we should get to that part, because I did pause the part where there's this very brief frame in which the woodsman shines his light onto the beast. And I actually paused it, and I was like, I regret everything. Because it's just like a flash, and you barely see it. So I was like, wait a second, what was that? And I had to stop and try to pause it, and I was like, oh, that's nightmare-inducing.
Yeah.
Nightmare fuel.
Which there is a lot of in the show.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, going back to that dog in the first episode, just hocking up that turtle, and then
turtles. That's something else that's a common theme in the show. It's just turtles.
I'm not sure what they were trying to say with that. I didn't take anything from there.
Yeah.
But like your roommate was saying, like she felt that the turtles represented evil.
Yeah. Somehow.
You know.
I was wondering, maybe it's just sort of like an inside joke between animators, kind of like how kind of like how in Adventure Time, in every episode of Adventure Time, there is a waving snail.
Yeah.
Like if you look for it, it's the same exact animation. It's the same exact snail. They just stick him in different places.
I've always liked that idea with things, like just make that one little reference that's always in there, but hide it.
Yeah.
Like similar to, I guess, the Simpsons couch gag, I guess, but that's a bit more obvious. Well, there's
also, like in Invader Zim, there was also lots of bees and moose and just general things that Jonan Vasquez liked.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so the next episode is Mad Love, which I also really, really enjoyed.
I think this was one of my favorites.
Yeah, as a fun little fact, I just found out now, John Cleese does the voice for the extra character that comes in, Quincy Endicott. Yeah, and John Cleese is a python, a very old man. I think he's like 80 or something, one of the Monty Pythons. Regan is not a Python fan, so that's why she will neither care nor exclaim her joy for it. But
I don't exactly know what it is. It's like a play series, right?
It's comedy shorts.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
If nothing else, watch The Holy Grail.
Yeah, you should probably watch the movie if you're not going to watch this TV series. That's at least clever.
It's a TV series. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't do pop culture.
So the two of them, the boys need money. They need like 2 cents or something. Yeah, 2 cents to cross like this river to get onto this boat. So they go and pretend to be the nephews of this wealthy man, Quincy, who is voiced by John Cleese.
Who Greg just seems to accept. He's like, oh yeah, this is my uncle.
Yeah. Greg is okay with it.
Genuinely like, oh, okay.
But one of my favorite conversations happens in this episode where, I don't know if it was Wirt and Greg, they were talking to Beatrice about what they're trying to do. And it's like, what are you trying to get us to do? And Beatrice flat out says, we're just trying to like cheat this old man into giving us some money. And then like Wirt or whoever is like, I think that's stealing. And she's like, yeah, but we need to get the money so we can go. And he's like, I don't want to steal. And then the horse is sitting next to him.
Beatrice says, well, we already stole a horse. And Wirt says, no, he's a talking horse. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. And then the horse says, I want to steal. And I just thought that was such a clever... Because it's like Wirt's trying his best to be this good person. And then it's like, no, I just want to steal.
His one hope.
Yeah.
No.
It's like, come on, man. So I thought that was quite funny, that exchange. And then the whole episode itself, where basically this rich old man thinks he's crazy because he sees a room in his massive house that he never recognizes, and he sees a different painting of a woman there. And so I think it was
and
Wirt...
he starts to fall in love. He fell in love with the painting.
Yeah. But Wirt and Fred start thinking that the old man is actually crazy, that he actually killed the old woman who belonged there. As that what actually happened, which is a very clever little twist, is that the old man's house grew so big that it grew into, like, he built the house so large that he built it into the house of another person who was building a massive mansion who belonged to this old lady who also fell in love with his painting and thought she was being haunted by a ghost. So their mansions had joined together, but they find each other and they're super, super happy about it.
Yeah.
A nice little story of,
Very
I guess,
sweet.
weird love.
And this is where Fred the horse
leaves.
Yeah, but he also realizes he doesn't want to steal anymore, and he stays with him, and he wants to earn an honest living.
Just a strange little side thing there.
Yeah. It was like he only wanted to steal once that we know of, and now all of a sudden he's like...
Nope, we're done here.
Yeah. So, I don't know, this episode didn't... like you were pointing out with that other episode, but this one wasn't that serious. This was just like a nice little goofy side quest.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you write, especially an epic saga like this, where you give tension and release.
Yeah.
If I may, I'm going to say something that is completely embarrassing, but my English 101 teacher gave me the best of... Well, my English 101 teacher gave me the best advice for writing, which is that good writing is a lot like good sex. There's tension and release. There's tension and release.
Oh my goodness. It's getting a bit hot in here.
So, no, but that's good writing. Like, that's why I don't like the action-packed thrillers are like, testosterone, action, explosions, blah, 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 end. Like, that's not good writing.
Yeah. That's
just action porn is what it is. It's like, and this is much more okay, we've got an overarching story that we're going to constantly allude to throughout, and then we've got your more serious episodes coupled with the more lax episodes with just little silly things that happen. So, just in general, good writing.
Yeah.
No.
Another fun fact we'll be sharing with you guys soon.
What are you looking at?
No,
I'm
don't give away our production secrets. We're looking at the Wikipedia page. Okay, just to sort of go over the episodes. So episode 6 comes along, Lullaby in Frogland, another episode I really liked. I think the middle of the series is definitely like my favorite part of the whole thing. Lullaby in Frogland, again, love the music, love the animation, love the storytelling, love the silliness of the frogs, like the frog gods who just accept that there's this huge tall frog man, like while they're chasing after these kids, like a very
also forgot to mention that throughout the series, Greg has this frog that he constantly tries to name.
Yeah, every episode he has a new name.
This is my favorite name for the frog. I thought George Washington was a good name for the frog.
I like the George Washington name, but he constantly renames the frog. It's a different, like, the frog is named something different every episode.
Yeah.
He never, settles on a name until the very end.
Oh, sorry, just going back to the last episode, we should also mention that this is where we find out that Beatrice was a human.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And then we also figure out that
she's been cursed. She threw a stone at like a bluebird, and the bluebird cursed her family into becoming bluebirds.
Yeah, so now she can't, and she won't go home until she has fixed it.
Yeah.
So, in addition to that, it's also like the first time that we start to learn that Wirt is actually from kind of like a more normal world.
Yeah.
Because he likes to play his clarinet, and he's got a crush on a girl, and
he's got and so I think actually Beatrice asks why are you here, and he mentions there was this girl, and I think Beatrice actually says something about him being a wuss. I could be remembering that wrong.
Oh, she definitely
they're
gives him a hard time
degrading
throughout.
him.
Yeah,
She's
Well,
constantly
there's
giving him
definitely a
sass.
lot of that where I actually the Mad Love episode was where Beatrice says you're always doing what you're told, so Wirt as an
No, wasn't that the school episode?
Oh, was it?
Because that's
That
when he
was-
just goes
yeah.
and then they sit down
Yeah,
and he
he
sits
goes-
down and
yeah.
Oh,
just
that's
to
right. That's
Yeah.
right.
give Beatrice a hard time.
My bad.
No worries. Okay, so but yeah, the whole frog episode I really liked. I felt it was a call. The episode itself, it reminded me of The Wind in the Willows, I think.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so there was definitely
Frogs.
that whole sort of
whimsy and sweetness.
yeah, and but I mean these sort of 1940s Mississippi style frogs, you know, with their fancy little outfits, and but they're still frogs because at the end of the episode they all like just dive into some mud to go hibernate.
Yeah.
But they're all fancy, and I think when the music stopped, they all stopped freaking out because there's a band playing,
Oh,
right?
When the
Yeah.
bassoon
Yeah.
stops playing.
Oh.
Yeah, and then they're all like, "Bah!"
And this is
for-
also where it starts to get
just like screaming at the air.
Yeah, this is also where it starts to get weird with Beatrice, because all of a sudden she changes her tune.
Oh yeah,
and
she doesn't want to go to the Lady in the Woods anymore.
She doesn't want them to leave.
Yeah.
So at first you think one of two things: either she's starting to get attached to these guys and she doesn't want them to leave, or there's something up that you don't know about.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't she start saying stuff like, "Oh, we don't need to go see the Woman in the Woods just yet"? You know, like you
Yeah.
guys don't have to go. I think it's more like she doesn't want to introduce. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's not so much getting attached at that point. I think she's worried about their safety.
Yeah, well, but you don't know that for certain. You're just starting to figure out, okay, well, what's up here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, in this point, the frog that they're carrying around with them, whose name I believe at this point is
George Washington.
Yeah,
Then
he
it's-
sings while Wirt plays his bassoon thing.
Yeah. Later
And-
on, it's Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah. And the frog signs a contract, which I think makes Greg sad. He sees him, he's like, "Oh, well, my frog's gonna go."
A little bit, but then he's he feels happy because he's like, "You did good, Mr. President." Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
might be one of my favorite lines.
John Cleese makes another appearance as a voice as Adelaide, who is the woman in the woods in this. So that was a nice, pleasant little surprise.
Yeah.
And then we hop into episode 7.
Wait, no, don't hop into episode 7. This is where they lose Beatrice.
She does go obviously to Adelaide, but why did they lose her? How did they lose her?
Because she was going to give them to
Yeah.
the Woman of the Woods, and thinking that she just needed like some chores done around the house, but she has this weird thing with wool, and she was going to take out the boys' brains, replace it with wool, so that they would be like little sheep and do what they're told.
Yeah. Well, and
then the boys found that out.
oh, then they run away from her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Oh,
they
I
feel
forgot that
betrayed.
was in the same episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do
It's
know
like
that she
at the
does
very
offer
tail end.
before
And
the
then-
boys find out. Yeah, she does offer herself. She's like, "Can't you do that to me instead?
Yeah,
Just
which you
please
don't
save my
get
family
to
and I'll be
see.
your servant." Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't see it, but
Yeah.
we see it.
So we
Yeah.
see that Beatrice, there's more to her than previously thought,
Mm.
and the frog ends up going with them again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
Now, yeah, this is also another interesting episode. Ringing of the bell.
yeah.
This had a clever twist to it.
Amazing.
This was also nightmare fuel.
Yeah. Now there's a really weird design character in this called Auntie Whispers.
Who's
Who
very
is-
much like a Ghibli reference.
Yeah, I felt that way
Yeah.
too. I was like,
Even-
especially the design sense.
Yeah, because like specifically the Spirited Away, the
Old woman.
yeah, both of them.
The
Mm.
witch.
The witch is Yubaba, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, where she's like this very large-headed woman. So like her head is bigger than pretty much any normal-sized human being, especially the main character in the film Chihiro or Sen. So she's this very oddly proportioned witch character. And Auntie Whispers, I felt, was very much a callback to that, where she was very much a witch-like character. And she was incredibly strict with who's the woman in the
I don't remember the girl's name.
Lorna, I think is her
Lorna.
name.
Lorna.
Lorna.
Yeah.
So You think that, so I guess the episode, like, you think that Lorna is essentially being kept hostage by anti-whispers. At least that is what is implied in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely this, like, she's trying to save the boys, hide the boys away, and then, Auntie Whispers comes in, and she's like, I smell something else here.
I smell children.
But it's something. It's just the turtles that are ripened. That's what she smells, but the boys are hidden underneath the turtles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then also she says, "Did you clean the bones or something? Like, will there be any more victims tonight or something like that?" So it's alluding to her.
Yeah, to Auntie Whispers being the creepy,
a cannibal kind of creature.
And then it turns out that
it's Lorna.
Yeah, Lorna gets controlled by this bell that Auntie Whispers rings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so when the bell rings, that like Lorna has to do what she's told. And so from our point of view, it's like, oh, this old woman's busy controlling this little girl, and whatever. And then this is where the twist happens. Lorna is actually possessed by a demon.
Once she finishes her chore.
Yeah,
she needs to constantly be kept busy.
Yeah. Because then Wirt helps clean up the chore because he wants to save her. And you can see that he starts sort of liking her a bit, and she sort of gives him a coy little smile.
Mm-hmm.
And being a dumb boy, you can't help a pretty girl who smiles at you. And and so he helps her up, and then I think Greg goes to steal the bell.
Yeah. Greg.
Accidentally.
Yeah, Greg accidentally wakes up Auntie Whispers.
Because his frog swallowed the bell, which comes back later, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And so they run out, and then Auntie Whispers like, no, come back, you don't know what you do, type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so off they run, and then this is where Lorna actually, it turns out to be possessed by this creature, and starts threatening to attack Wirt. I don't remember how they solved this problem.
The frog swallowed the bell, and then they shook the frog.
Yeah.
And Lorna had to listen to...
Oh yeah, and so then the command by Wirt commands the demon to leave. Which, such a simple solution, right? Why didn't this then,
Anti-Whispers
do that? Like, why not just say, well, here's the control? But I guess you find out now that Auntie just still wanted her to stay because she does. It's like, oh, now that you don't have the demon and you don't need me to protect you anymore. And Lorna's like, no, I still love you. Auntie, please, I know you love me. I know you were doing it in my best interest. And that's an interesting story, right? Because sometimes, even though parents or guardians do things that aren't good for the person, they're doing it out of love sometimes, and neither side can see sort of or at least the parent can't see what they're doing is harmful to the kid. Not letting them go. And when the kid does break away from that, it's not like, we're not leaving you, we're just going on our own path. And that was sort of a nice sort of story, though I don't know how much that story would matter to little kids or young adults.
Interesting fact, Tim Curry, did we mention that?
No,
Tim Curry is Auntie Whispers.
Yeah, so that's nice. There's a lot of like guest voices in here. Shannon Sussman is apparently Lorna. I don't recognize her name other than the fact that I know she was in that movie about knights, that comedy movie where she makes the Nike armor outfit. Don't know if you remember that. Yeah, it was.
But I like
big smiles.
Transsexual.
Transylvania. Well, I liked him in Red Alert 3 when he couldn't act. Well, I mean, those were those old Command and Conquer games. They always had these live action sequences, and the acting was always over the top, and I'm sure on purpose too. Anything else that you want to mention about the episode, guys?
Nope, I think we covered most of everything on episode 7.
No, stop pressing buttons.
I'm not.
You're
pressing
Turtles
buttons.
references, I guess.
What's that?
More Turtles references.
Oh,
Yeah, the auntie's eating the turtles, which was... I don't know. I mean, it was the same turtles that the dog had eaten to turn him evil.
Yeah.
So I guess that was the idea, was like, oh, look at this, she's eating the turtles that turn people evil. And it's like, I don't know what... Yeah, but afterwards you find out obviously she's not evil, so then I don't know what that was really meant to convey. Episode 8, Babe in the Woods. Brother and Greg's frog are sailing down the lake when they hear the beast's song. Oh yes, and this is where Greg starts giving up. Not Greg, sorry, Wirt. Wirt starts giving up, and he just wants to rest. He doesn't want to look after his brother anymore. He even says to his brother, Greg, you lead us. If it wasn't for you anyway,
Yeah.
And it was like definitely the attitude of giving up. This is the theme of I don't want to be responsible anymore. I don't want to try anymore. I'm done. And that's where the forest would have started eating Wirt. And that's, we've all been there. We're just tired of trying. We're tired of wanting to get through it. And then Greg, now that he's in charge, he's still got his little happy-go-lucky attitude. He goes off to this weird dream world where he's like, this is like old 40s, 30s cartoons references.
No, not even. This is like early 20s.
Yeah, okay, well,
it's
I mean like
Felix
early
the Cat
turn of the century.
And Alice
yeah.
comedies, and it's very, very early animation.
But like the whole design of it, like, when they would focus on one of the characters, they would have an iris in towards it, and then that's who you focus on while he's dancing, you know? And then also the design of the characters. Even Greg became sort of designed like that sort of, that early...
Lesser so, but definitely...
Yeah, but it was definitely there. It was like he was sort of changing into it, and he was having fun, and so...
And then he releases like the storm cloud thing.
Yeah, and then they fight it, and then they calm down the storms, and then the angel lady comes down and
the queen
grants,
of the clouds,
grants him a wish so he can go home. And this is the thing. It's like Greg's like, oh, I want me and my brother to go home, and she's like, okay, well, I can only send you home. Your brother is already lost. He's no longer. He's And so I don't exactly know what the wish was because you never hear it. But basically the idea is Greg kind of goes back to sacrifice himself so his brother can wake up and not fall. And that's like such a weird thing to me because I'm not exactly sure what's supposed to be said there, other than the sacrifice of the innocence lets the, I guess, like that who
I think
is
it's
no
just
longer innocent.
showing his love.
I don't know, like,
I think it's just like a love thing.
But the thing is, it's like they weren't saved at that point, though. It wasn't a, like if his brother was saved, other than being turned into the tree, which he then was becoming, but then his brother wasn't the one being allowed to leave, so it was giving his brother a second chance. And I of course, like, the love for his brother is there. But I mean, that can't all be that's what they were trying to say, right? I mean, if it was just as simple as oh, I love him, I'm going to save him, sure, that's there. I just think there's definitely an underlying... There's definitely something there, and I can't voice what it is, I think. But I do think it's got something to do with sacrificing the innocence of Greg, who, in the episodes after this, he isn't completely lost. He's still innocent. He's still goofy. But I do think his sacrifice to let his brother keep going that's a thing. That's definitely something I think that's there.
I do remember I can't remember, but there is some. I don't remember what this originates from, but I know there is a type of folklore in which when a person commits suicide, they turn into trees. So I wish I could look it up, but it would take me too long.
Okay.
I just remember reading it somewhere, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting concept. There's definitely a lot of that in this.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of like folklore and tales put into the story.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're missing a whole bunch of it, that a lot of it's going over our heads. Because...
Well, there's so much of it to go over. I mean, even if we were to have researched every little folklore, it would have taken us hours to go through with it. But that's what's kind of really cool about it, is that... Even if you don't get all of the references, you can at least get some of them.
You pick up on something.
Yeah, you pick up that this is very much a love letter to many things, be it folklore, old cartoons, just everything. We covered Ghibli films. I mean, considering all the guest stars that we're seeing on too, so even some old actors.
I mean, I'm surprised I didn't pick up because I mean, I pretty much, I mean, you can usually hear one of your favorite actors, and to me, to not pick up John Cleese, but he was playing female characters.
Yeah,
so,
well, even Tim Curry was playing Auntie Whisper's a female character.
Yeah, I wonder if that's
I don't know.
on purpose. Well, I mean,
guess what? Wirt is played by Elijah Woods.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah, but his, like, it's like one of those things you don't really pick up until somebody tells you, and you're like, wait, that's really obvious. Of course it's Elijah Woods. And then it should also be mentioned at the end of this episode where Greg sacrifices, because I believe the wish is actually that he wants to take
The place of his
Wirt's
brother.
place. Yeah, he wants to take Wirt's place. And then, what was it? Somehow, what was it? Greg wishes. Wirt chases after the beast, and because we see Greg go off with the beast, and Wirt chases after him and nearly drowns in icy pond.
And I think that's kind of where the episode ends, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And then
Well, you see him being rescued, but
Yeah.
but you don't find out until the next episode who rescued him.
No, don't you hear Beatrice? I'm pretty
Maybe-
sure.
yeah,
Oh, maybe it
no,
is.
it's Beatrice in the fish thing that you see at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, yeah.
The fish who's fishing.
The fish is fishing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought that was really interesting too, because it seemed I can't, like, I'm trying to figure out if maybe that's because that's how the boys end up in this place in the first place, is because they both nearly drown in a river.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to piece together if that was done on purpose.
Well, that's the thing. The next episode then moves into them the day before, or I guess just events that are happening before the whole
Yeah.
series starts, right? Because
Yeah.
then
Oh,
it's
that's
sort of
right. Yeah.
you see with we forgot to mention the whole rock facts,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
which I have. What did I start calling them? I started calling them Spencer facts.
Hey, Spencer.
Hey, Spencer.
Why?
Because the other day we were helping Liz move, and he was making things up, and I'm like, that's a Spencer fact, and I just started calling them, like, anytime somebody's wrong about something, I'm like, that's a
Yeah.
Spencer fact.
Yeah.
I mean, Spencer's not wrong about stuff usually, but it's you know.
But yeah, basically, if you haven't seen it, Greg carries around a little rock
With a face on it.
with a face that he I think he painted it.
I don't think he.
I think he
painted
got it like that. It was one of the
Yeah.
rocks in
Oh
the
right,
garden
right. It was
that
one
he
of the
finds.
rocks. It's later revealed that he got it from.
It's in this episode, like episode Into the Unknown, where it's basically the day or the night before. It's Halloween, and Wirt wants to confess to a girl. He makes like a poem and bassoon mixtape for her.
It's not bassoon. It's clarinet.
He makes a instrument, and
This is also where Wirt is revealed, that where he got his costume, where you see him because
It's like a Civil War cape. Or
yeah, it was like a
something?
Civil War cape and a Santa hat.
That he cut the fluff
Oh no,
off
it's a
of.
band cloak.
A band cloak. Okay.
Okay, so attempts to tell his feelings to this girl named Sarah, and then Greg shows up, and like Wirt's getting cold feet, doesn't want to give this tape to the girl.
Assuming the worst.
Yeah, assuming the worst, and this is also where Greg is revealed the reason he's wearing a teapot on his head the whole time
my
is because
gosh.
he's dressed up as an elephant.
yeah, yeah, the teapot that stays in his head the whole episode. It's
The
because he's an
whole
elephant.
series.
Yeah.
And so Greg shows up, and he's doing some chores for this lady it's the same lady that he steals the rock from her garden, right?
Yeah.
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 So,
Well, the thing is, like, he wants to do the chore so he can get candy, but candy is free because it's Halloween. So he took the rock instead, or something. It's really weird.
yeah. But anyway, so Greg ends up giving the tape to, like, puts the tape in Sarah's jacket, I believe.
Mhm.
And so then
No, he doesn't.
Oh no! He tells
his brother.
Yeah, the brother gives the tape cassette to the friends of the girl, who then are like, "Oh, we'll put it in her jacket for you," you know.
Oh.
And then
And he
Wirt's like, "No," and then he runs away and
Completely
forgets.
forgets. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also another character is revealed. Jason Funderburker.
Jason Funderburker.
Jason Funderburker.
What a jerk.
Yeah, where it's revealed that Jason Funderburker also has feelings for Sarah, so it becomes a race between Wirt and Jason.
Well, Wirt gives up. Wirt's like, oh, Jason is he's just too
Oh,
good.
that's right. Yeah, he's just like, oh well, I guess Jason Funderburker is a much better candidate for Sarah than me. So, and then that's when he begins to get cold feet, and he doesn't want to tell Sarah because what he's afraid of is that Jason and Sarah are going to listen to the tape and they're going to laugh at him.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want Sarah to find out about the tape. So he goes to a party where Sarah's at to try to retrieve the tape from the jacket. But Sarah and Jason, and it's really funny because Jason Funderburker is revealed to be this shrimpy little...
It's such a... I'm wondering what they're trying to reference there.
Well, the thing is, I know they were definitely showing the football players, and I was under the impression that first football guy was Jason.
I think that was what everyone was supposed
to
think.
Yeah, I think they definitely sort of try and get you to believe that, and then when you do find out who Jason is, you're like, well, why would Sarah like that guy anyway? He's a complete dork, in the worst way, not even the
not
cute.
in a charming way, in a kind of irritating way.
Yeah, he's got the annoying accent thing, and
no, it's like this nasally hey Sarah.
It was. Yeah,
poor guy.
It was. Look, he wasn't designed to be alluring. Let's put it that way. In the sense of storytelling.
I kind of liked even though he was this weird kind of really weird outcasty guy, they all accepted him and he was part of the group. And, you see a bit of Sarah's dynamic with her, and it just falls flat. And it's okay, Funderburker.
Well, there was that too. There was definitely none of that cliquish attitude in the show where because the girls wanted to help Wirt get his cassette to the girl.
Yeah.
He was they were oh well do you like her? It wasn't oh, we're gonna tease you now, but he was definitely of that mindset where he felt like everybody in the world was gonna tease him or everybody was gonna go against him. Meanwhile, everybody
life wasn't
actually
that bad.
Yeah, everybody was just decent people. He was just expecting the worst out of everybody.
Yeah. And as I can relate to that,
as anyone on Earth can relate to that.
Well, especially when you're trying to tell your feelings for someone that you like,
and you're awkward.
Yeah, and you're awkward, and you're
most animators.
Yeah,
we're all super awkward.
We're so bad about that. Side glance at Wesley.
What are you talking about?
He was suave and charming and swung in, right?
Yeah. So this whole episode, then it builds up. They meet them at the graveyard during Halloween.
And I love the way that Sarah says it's we're just gonna go to a graveyard. We're not gonna do anything illegal.
We're gonna have age appropriate drinks.
Yeah.
Like juice.
like what's that? Juice? I don't know, age appropriate stuff.
Yeah.
It's what the animators or the script writers actually wanted to put in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because definitely they'd be obviously drinking beers or whatever. But it was a clever sort of look, they're not drinking beers. Don't think otherwise. Wink, wink, wink. But yeah, and this is also cool because the thing is Wirt blames Greg, right, for their predicament, right? But it's definitely while you're watching this, Greg's definitely just trying to help his brother out.
Yeah.
This is what you want. This is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to help you out. And so he's constantly blaming Greg for the things and then running away and then climbing over the wall. And then this is where they go over the garden wall, roll off, and then they roll into the river.
They find the frog.
Oh, yeah, just a bit before that.
Yeah.
And then the police guy was like, hey, what are you kids doing? And then, where it's freaking out, he's going to get busted by the police. He's like, no, I'm just kidding, you guys. But he was doing that, the cop was throughout the whole episode. Well, I think he only did it twice. But he was like, hey, what are you guys doing? No, I'm just kidding. It's just the police. Yeah. Carry on. Have a safe night,
It's such a small town thing. It's only a police officer in a small town would be like, hey, causing crap.
He's
messing around. He's someone's dad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he sees it, the way the cop is introduced. He says to these two kids dressed up as robbers, "Hey, stick them up." Just kidding. Happy Halloween, kids.
Yeah. So, yeah, then they get chased, fall off over, and then they roll into the water. Mm-hmm. Now this is where my first indication, sort of, that they died happened, because it's it's dangerous. Everybody else is freaking out, that they're climbing on this wall trying to run away. Everybody else is freaking out. Mm-hmm. As they roll over, they're freaking out.
They nearly get hit by a train.
Yeah, there's a lot of oh geez, you kids are in a really dangerous spot, and then they fall over and then they get lost.
Even the cop loses his. Hey kids, really, that's dangerous.
No, get down. No, on this side.
So now you've got this thing where this is the episode that now separates the real world from this world that they're in, which I now call purgatory, that they're trying to find their place in this purgatory, but they want to actually rather get home. So I feel they don't know they're dead. And this is also summarized in episode 2 with those pumpkins, where they're like, I don't want to be here right now. And they're like, okay, well, you'll be here later.
Yeah.
So that could indicate, oh, you guys will die later in life and you'll join us. But it's like, look, this is where you're supposed to be. But you know what? Go do your thing. Go figure out where you need to be, and then we'll see you later. You know, and so that's where like that sort of clicked for me. Was like, oh, they're supposed to be dead, but it's never really said. And again, this is just the way I took it. I'm more than willing to accept that I could be wrong, because when you get into then episode 9.
No,
right?
that was
episode 9.
Yeah.
So episode 10, yeah, this is where it starts wrapping everything up. This is the final episode. Everything gets wrapped up in this episode quite nicely, except for the ending song, which I'll get to at the end of this. They wake up again. You know.
No, they being just Wirt.
Oh, okay.
Wirt. It's discovered that Wirt is rescued by the birds. Beatrice's family.
Oh yeah, Beatrice leaves Wirt in the family's nest.
Yeah.
Or by the door of the family, and the family tries to warm her up. Him up.
Yeah. And Beatrice is looking for Greg, and finds.
And so is the woodman.
Yeah. So let's see. This is definitely there was so much packed into this episode. It was okay. She finds.
Well, I mean, okay, so you got like Wirt, and then he leaves as well, while Beatrice is actually out looking for Greg too. I think they have the frog, right? Because at this point, Greg is being turned into a tree.
Yeah.
Like he's being wrapped up by this tree stuff.
No, not yet. He's doing stuff for the beast.
What's he doing for the beast?
Like, remember, the beast gives him all these riddles. Like, he has to figure out how to get the sun inside a cup.
Oh, yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, weren't those riddles there, like, just to distract him for a little while?
I think so, but he wasn't covered by the tree at all.
Okay.
At that point.
Yeah.
At least not that I noticed. Because he was moving around freely, and the beast had asked him for a spool of thread, and which he just wrapped like spiderweb around a stick, and then something else. Like they were all kind of riddles more than anything else. That basically only a kid like Greg could figure out.
Yeah.
And then it's also I'm jumping ahead, so yeah, he but eventually Wirt finds Greg, and he's
Wirt finds Beatrice first.
Okay, Wirt finds Beatrice first,
who's also looking for Greg,
and so as the sun sets, they find that Greg is slowly becoming what is an Edelwood tree. Yeah. Which is revealed that this is because it's told that the Edelwood is what keeps the lantern lit. But what we don't know in the beginning is that Edelwood is people.
The lost souls of the woods.
Yeah, the lost. Yeah. So it could be that the lost souls of purgatory. So basically, the people who gave up, who ended up in this forest, like they quote unquote died. Yeah. And they just gave up. And
they gave up looking how to get out.
Yeah, the Edelwood. And not even the woodsman knew about this. He would just ground up the Edelwood to make the oil for the lantern to keep the lantern lit. So
to the woodsman, he was saving his daughter, but then Wirt actually figures out, it is Wirt, right? He figures out that that the lantern is not actually his daughter, because I think he say like, oh, I'll save your brother, I'll put your brother's soul in there. And he's like, no, how could you do that? That's not possible.
That's stupid.
Yeah, and it's like, you wanting us to keep this alive.
Yeah,
and
it's almost like your soul is in there. It's like the direct quote or something.
And so obviously the beast is like, whoa, you figured me out, freaks out a bit, and the woodsman, you can see in his face, he's like, oh, what have I done? I've been keeping him alive.
This is also the part where you see just the flash, like you see the beast, and it's like like an Edelwood tree, but they have like all these faces on it. Pause it, I'm serious, it's nightmare fuel. It's totally creepy. I was like, oh oh, that's a thing. And then this is also where Greg reveals, like, as Greg is dying, turning into this Edelwood tree, and word is like, Niagara Falls, just trying, Wirt reveals that I stole the rock from from the Mrs. Daniels' garden. So Greg asks, could you return this rock for me? And then, of course,
and also take care of the frog.
Yeah, take care of the frog,
who he names
Jason Funderburker.
Just to make his brother happy.
So,
and so now to continue here, this is where the characters like sort of pass out and then wake up again and climbing out of the river that they fell into as humans, or as humans in the real world.
How did they figure that out? Like, how did they?
Well, they kill the beast, right? Because they defeat the beast, and so while they're leaving, I guess it just sort of fades, and then they swimming out, and then it's worth carrying Greg and.
But also, Beatrice somehow got the
Wirt had it.
Well, we don't figure that out yet. Okay, so Wirt passes the scissors to Beatrice, and off she flies.
That he stole from Lady Adelaide.
Yeah, so he climbs out, carries Greg, and the thing is, it's like what happens is it's all happy endings, right? Greg, recovers.
Yeah, they wake up in the hospital.
Wirt wakes up in the hospital. The girl wants to actually
hang out with
him. Yeah. It's quite funny. She's like, I can't listen to this. This is a cassette. I don't have a tape player.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, we can listen to it at my house after we've listened to some other stuff. And then it starts like tying everything up. You see the woodsman calm in his little house,
and he sees his daughter again. Remember?
Yeah, she comes out somehow, which is it's bizarre.
It's never really.
Well, that's the thing, right? So like it's all these little happy endings that start happening. The daughter and the birds are like have now become humans again. The mom jokes about it. Like, oh, what are you gonna do to turn us back into bluebirds? The frogs are hibernating. There's all these little happy tie-ins.
Yeah, the dog finds a home, and then you see Auntie whispers.
Yeah, you see the horse with the tea leaves that he's supposed to be carrying with the two people that are married. And it all sort of wraps up, and it's all very nice, but then there's the song that's playing that Jason Funderburker, the frog, is busy singing, and he's busy playing on his piano, and it's like whatever. And I can't remember the lyrics exactly, but I do remember one of the last lyrics was along the lines of, it's satisfying when the sweetest truths or the sweetest lies or the sweetest comfort, something like along the lines of the sweetest comfort is the lies we tell you.
Okay.
So it was to me it was a telling, like, we're just telling you these little happy thoughts to make you feel comfortable, but I guarantee you this ending did not end on a happy note. Like that's what I took from it. Okay. And that was the nail in the coffin, no pun intended, that made me believe it was more of a story about death than I don't know how you felt about
I guess I wasn't
in general.
Paying attention to the lyrics at the end there.
Right. Okay. I'm looking up the song, so give me a second.
So,
but beyond that, the series is definitely worth watching a couple times to try and get different hidden meanings out of it.
Like, if you enjoy it the first time, it's worth enjoying a second time, because there are so many hidden messages that I guarantee you we've probably missed, even within this review, as long as it was. Guarantee you there's over the egg.
Over the egg.
The end. Okay. Okay, so there's just so much layering to this that I guarantee you it's probably not what it seems. The fact that it's not all what it seems. Okay, we got into the unknown.
So, it's like, so the last part of the lyrics, the last 4 lines are dancing in a swirl of golden memories, the loveliest lies of all, the loveliest lies of all. So, yeah, and then it's just the way that it's presented. Like, so the frog looks at the camera, looks at the audience member and goes, the loveliest lies of all, and winks at you. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's what that meant, was just sort of we're just telling you lies to make you feel happy. They're the loveliest.
Yeah.
These, the golden memories are the loveliest lies. And that's just what I took from it. I'm sure there's 1,001 other.
Yeah, like I was like the way that what it reminded me, the very last song was A Midnight Summer's Dream, where one of the characters, Puck, I believe is a satyr, he has this monologue at the end where he basically says, if these images have offended you, just know that these were all lies. And I of course, high school was a while ago, so I don't remember, but essentially it's just saying that, this was all made up. This was all just a fantasy.
Yeah.
So it could, so you could say that the boys died. The other thing could be that the Over the Garden Wall, everything that happened in the Over the Garden Wall was all like in the boy's head. It could have been like a collective dream. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, like, I mean, I never picked up on the purgatory thing at all.
Yeah.
Through watching it.
And I'm happily willing to admit that, like, I'm just talking bunk, because it's just, I'm looking for a theme and I'm attaching my theme to that. So I could just be, very biased in, like, okay, well, this is what I think it is, and I'm going to now find all the things that lead towards it, in the same way that you could do with any sort of theme too. Yeah. It's just that, to me, is the strongest point at this moment.
Strongest possibility.
Yeah, and I'm more, I mean, I'll definitely keep looking into the series and see different theories by different people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See where it goes from there. But at the moment, it's just, death seems to be the most...
But that's kind of what's fun about it. Like one of the reasons one of my favorite games is Off, and I've been trying to get you to play that game since we met. Pretty much since you said that you liked video games, and I'm like, have you played Off? But one of the reasons I like that game in particular is because that's also one of those things that it's so layered, especially in its presentation and in its gameplay and its story, that there are a lot of fan theories floating around. Like, once you get to the ending, and once you see the two, like the canon ending, the alternate ending, and then the hidden ending, like, there are just so many things that you could take from that. Yeah. There are so many things. A lot of fans interpreted that, oh, well, this could have been the ending. Well, this was what the ending meant. Well, actually, the whole thing was actually in this character's head. So, it's definitely very layered. It's a very layered story, and I think, but that's what makes it fun. Yeah. Is that it's not...
Well, that's the point of this whole discussion, right? Is to sort of...
try and figure out.
Yeah, it's like, I'd like to know what everybody's opinions of it were.
Yeah, my what I wonder, though, is, like, at the end there, you see Greg with Jason Funderburker, and he's shaking the frog, and you see, like, the bell kind of glowing in him. It's like, so that at least shows you that everything kind of happened there, that it wasn't a dream. Like, there is some tie to reality there.
Yeah, but that's why I say, if you enjoy it once, it's worth enjoying 2, 3, 4, 5 times, because I guarantee you this is one of those things, like, and this is why I love one of the reasons I love V for Vendetta is because every time I watch it, I forget things, and then I remember, oh, this was what this is foreshadowing, and, oh, okay, so I see it, now that I see it again, I can see that this part ties into this later part. I guarantee you it's one of those things. When you watch it once, you enjoy it for what it is. When you watch it again, you suddenly, oh, that's what this was referring to.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to watch this again at some point.
Let's binge it again.
Yeah.
Yeah!
It's definitely... I would even go as far to support a DVD collection distribution, like... And you know what? If they made toys, I said it at the beginning, I would definitely buy toys.
I wonder how they are making money off this.
Probably
through advertising at the moment. I don't know if it's covering the costs, but, I think it was bought by Cartoon Network and now it's being aired on Cartoon Network at certain times. And,
I'm really glad that it exists, because it means that Cartoon Network is making a little bit more. It's being a little bit more
adventurous.
Yeah, adventurous. And for a while, I felt like Cartoon Network was trying too hard to be
safe.
Yeah, safe. And now that they've sort of captured their audience again with the more popular shows, I feel like, okay, now let's make something fun. Yeah. Let's make something for those weird geeks that like to go on the internet and talk about the meaning behind our cartoons.
Yeah, I mean, geez, who would do that?
I know, right? Bunch of nerds.
Yeah, Elijah Wood is Wirt, and Colin Dean is Gregory. I don't know who Colin Dean is.
I don't know.
He's a little boy.
Yeah. Oh, I think he was... Oh, I know his voice sounded familiar. He's in another show, but I can't think of what it was. I know I said it to you. I was like, oh, that's this character from this show, but I don't remember.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess that's pretty much our our review and basic breakdown of the show. Look, there's definitely a lot more to it, and we might even have a second part to this. Where we talk
I've got a friend of mine who tried to get me to say a bunch of other stuff about it, but I was just like, I don't think we're gonna cover that because that's a really broad list you've given me.
Yeah,
There's
so
a lot.
All right, everybody. If you have any thing you want to say about this, or questions, or any episodes, or movies, or stuff that you want us to talk about, I'm open to talk about anything.
Hey,
really.
We're totally willing to do another dive deeper into Over the Garden Wall. Let's watch it again. Let's discuss it even deeper.
So, any comments and whatnot, email address will be in the abouts on the YouTube page, or the Tumblr page, anonymators.tumblr.com. That's the construction, right? Well, that's it for me and these guys. Bye-bye.
A is for the apple that he gave to me, but I found a worm inside. B is for beloved that I called to him before he left my side. And C, see what he did, that's D. Did it to poor old me. How could I be such an emotional fool? F, G is for the gentleman I thought he was when he first said hi. H-I, J is for the joker, that is Jimmy B, the man who made me cry, that's a C. And K, well, you know it's just not okay to kiss and then run away, leaving alone without leaving a letter for Langtree. M is for the misery left me in, never to return again. Oh, what a poor pea-fool I've been, queuing in line for him. And are you the one for me? Yes, say you'll come back to me. Why are you tempted to tease me? Why not you have got to understand the value of a woman's heart? V, why, W, now why did you think it was fine to X me from the start? And why is the question that's on my mind? Oh, why did you leave me right before reaching our zenith? Oh, 1 is the number of men I've loved, and 2 is the times I'll say it's you. 3 is the number of days you've been gone, but it feels like 4 times 2. 8, at the hour the sun goes down, I remember life with you around. I wish I had 9 lives like that.